Hello, fellow Christmas lovers. Welcome to the Closer to Christmas podcast. My name is Charlie, and this is the very first episode of the Closer to Christmas podcast being recorded in July 2022. On this premiere episode of the podcast, I'm going to cover the Chip and Dale Christmas Treasures card game that is made by the Funko Games Company. So make sure you have your favorite beverage, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So before I get into the game that I'm going to discuss on this podcast, with this being the very first episode, I'm going to take this time to go a little bit more in depth about who I am and why I'm podcasting and everything, because I just put out a promo episode before, so it was a little 1-minute bit just to get you guys introduced to the show. So now that I have a little more time here, I'm going to introduce myself. Again, my name is Charlie. I've been podcasting for years. I believe the first podcast I put out was in 2007 or 9. I can't remember. It was based on a video game. Then throughout the years, like I said before in the promo episode, I've done podcasts on TV shows. Me and a couple of my friends did a episode breakdown of the Doug cartoon series podcast. I did that for a couple of years. We covered that whole series. Then I did some podcasts throughout the years. Again, with my one friend, we just did a comedy type of podcast. And me and my younger brother, for probably about a year and a half, we did a podcast called The Holiday Bros, where we just discussed different holiday specials that were on TV. So we would do something for Halloween. We would do Halloween, the movie, Garfield's Christmas, all that kind of stuff. So we did cover that. That was called the Holiday Bros podcast. That was a fun time. We did that for a little while. And throughout the years, I've just been podcasting, and I've always enjoyed doing it. So I have to bring my love of Christmas together and podcasting together, because I do listen to podcasts all day at work. I work in a factory job, so I have 11 to 12 hours a day to listen to things. So the majority of my day is filled up by listening to podcasts. And I know there's tons of Christmas podcasts out there. I listen to a huge percentage of them, to be honest with you. So that's what most of my day is filled with. So I know I'm jumping into some very crowded waters here, but I enjoy all the podcasts that I listen to, and I'm just happy to be putting out a Christmas podcast myself. And I hope you guys enjoy listening. Like I said, I'm going to be covering a lot of games in the first season here, board games, video games, stuff like that. But it is going to be of a big variety of topics, not only game-based. So you might have another episode sprinkled in here and there in the first season. I don't want to throw all games at you all at once in case games are not your thing. But for this first episode, I am going to be covering a card game, and I did have a chance to play it this weekend. So I'm going to dig out the rules, and I'm going to cover them, and then I'll talk a little bit about my experience with the game. So I will be back in 1 minute, and we'll get on with the show. One more thing I'd like to say before I get into the breakdown of this card game. I am not sponsored by anybody. I don't have any sponsors for this show as of now. I am not sponsored by Funko Games. These are just games I decided to pick up to review for the show and to also have fun and add to my collection. So none of these games that I'm going to be talking about right now are a sponsored deal. So I just want to throw that out there just in case anybody was wondering about that. And this first game that I picked up, the Chip and Dale Christmas Treasures card game, like I said at the top of the show, it is made by Funko Games. And at the time that I purchased this, I purchased it on Amazon, and it was only $4.46. And in my opinion, if you could find a card game that you could have fun with the family for under $5, it's well worth the investment. So I figured I'd take a stab at this along with some of their other games. And I had a chance this weekend, like I said, to play this. And I'm going to talk about the rules first, what you get in the box, my thoughts on the materials that the game is made out of and the quality of it, and so on and so forth. So right out of the box, you're going to get 16 treasure cards, 6 event cards, a star token, and a set of instructions. The box that this comes in, it has a nice, really thick, waxy feeling. When you crack the seal on it and you open it up, the cards are set inside. There is the 60 cards in there, the 6 event cards, a big circle star token, and when you take them out of the box, the inside of the box has a really nice design on it. It kind of looks like it would be really awesome for wrapping paper. I would purchase it if I saw it. It has Chip and Dale, some of the items from in the episode that this is based off of, Pluto, some ornaments, some candy canes, acorns. The game does say it's 2 to 6 players. It's ages 5 and up, and again, it is made by Funko Games. That's funkogames.com. I don't know what year this game actually came out. I'm going to look that up, and I'll have that a little bit later in the show. But first, when I opened up the package, the cards all came wrapped in a nice plastic wrap. As soon as I took the wrapping off of it and felt the cards, they have such a nice texture to them. They feel like a really thick, waxy, heavy card. I was really surprised by that. I was kind of thinking for a $5 game or an under $5 game, you'd get some like really thin, papery feeling cards, but these cards are very thick. They're printed with a high quality coloring. They're just a really nice feel in your hands. I really do enjoy the quality of these cards, and they do look like they could take some abuse and some throwing around if you're sitting there playing with some of the kids. So I would not worry too much about that. They are definitely a good feeling card. The star token that it comes with, it's just a cardboard token, has a star on it. You use that in the game. I'm going to go over the instructions when you would use that, and I'll tell you my initial thoughts on it. It's kind of useless, but the way you set the card game up, it's supposed to look like a Christmas tree, so that's the star topper on the tree. I'll explain that when I go over the rules and the setup, but it is a piece that you could probably get away with not using it. The second and third time we played it, we just kind of did the motion that you're supposed to do while you're holding it, and we just left it on the table because it really wasn't worth picking up. And the instructions, like I said, it's a 2 to 6 player game, ages 5 and up. And the setup of the game, you're going to shuffle the treasure cards and you're going to place them face down on the table. And then you're going to draw 6 of the cards and place them in the shape of a tree. So you're going to start with 1 card on the top. Row number 2 will have 2 cards, and row number 3 will have 3 cards. And you put them in a pattern like a triangle. And then you take that star token and you're going to put it at the top of the tree. And you're going to put your treasure deck, all the remaining cards, down at the bottom. And then there are 6 event cards. You're going to place them in numerical order, 1 through 6. And depending on how many people are playing, you're going to choose different amounts of cards. So if you have a 4-player game, you're going to remove the bottom card so that there's only 5 events. And if you have a 5 or 6-player game, remove the bottom 2 cards so that there's only 4 events. The only reason you're going to do that is because with 5 and 6 people playing, if you went through 6 events, that's going to be a long game. The events happen at the beginning of every turn. So if you're having 5 and 6 people playing, going through 6 events, that's 30 different turns throughout all the people. So you don't want to be sitting there that long playing. You could get this game done in a few minutes if you play it. A 2-player game, which I played, and a 3-player game. So it doesn't take too long, but 6 events and 6 people would take way too long. Now, I like when instructions do something like this. They'll come up with a nifty little way to decide who goes first. So in the instructions in this game, it says whoever last ate a candy cane is the first player. And I have to admit, I kept a bag of candy canes on top of my refrigerator, and I just consumed one probably about, maybe a month ago or so. So I was the first one to go when I played this. But yeah, that is how you determine who goes first, whoever last ate a candy cane. I don't know how you're going to sit there and argue about that, but that is the rules, and that's what you have to do. And the object of the game is simple. You're going to collect treasures from the Christmas tree and score points. Then the player with the most points at the end of the game wins. All right, so now I'm going to go over how to play the game and everything that you're going to do on your turn. So at the start of each round, what you're going to do is you're going to take your event card and you're going to flip the top card over. If you see that star symbol, everybody in the game that's playing is going to have to do what that event card says. If you don't see that star symbol, it's only the first person that does the thing. So what you're going to do on your turn, you're going to flip your treasures over. So one at a time, you're going to flip treasures in the tree face up out of those cards that we laid on the table. And if you look at the cards, you're going to see up in the top left corner, there might be a Pluto head, there might be 2 Pluto heads or no Pluto heads. But your turn could keep going as long as you want unless you get 3 or more Pluto heads. And once you get 3 or more Pluto heads, your turn's over and you have to stop flipping. But if you don't get any Pluto heads, you could keep going until you want. There's only the 6 cards on the table, so you don't have that many choices. You can't go forever, but once you do get 3 Pluto heads, your turn is over. Then you're going to collect your treasures. So you get to choose up to 2 face-up treasures in the tree to collect. But if you did get caught by Pluto, you can only choose 1. So then you're going to refill the tree. So you're going to flip any remaining cards that are face up back over again, and then draw new treasures from the treasure deck, and then build your tree picture back up again, and then leave them face down. And now it's the next player's turn. So you're going to do that through however many people are playing, and then once you get back to the first person, that's the start of an event again. And as far as the events go, so when an event with the star symbols flip, the first player, here's where I said at the beginning of the show, the star it's kind of weird what they want you to do with it, but the first player takes the star token and does what the card asks them to do. Then they pass the star token to the next player who does the same thing. And then after that player takes theirs, they pass the star token to the next person. And you just go all the way around. But as you're doing what it says on that event card, they want you to pass the star token around. We did that the first one or two times, but then after that, we didn't see any point in doing that. We just kind of did what the event said. So that is what the star token's for, in my opinion. First time, do it. Why not have fun? But then it kind of just sat there the rest of the time. But then when you flip over an event card that does not have the star on it, only that first person does the event. And I'll go over what the event cards are a little bit later so you'll understand what I mean, but not everybody has to do it, so you don't need to touch that star. So basically, the game is over when all of your event cards are done. So if you are playing with 4 event cards, once you're finished with that 4th event, and then you all take your turn on that one, that's the end of the game. And then you're going to total up your points to see who has the most points, and the person with the most points is going to win the game. Now I'm going to talk about what the event cards do and what they say on the fronts of them. There's a total of 6 event cards in total, and you're going to start with number 1. You're going to do them in numerical order. So the first event card is a star card. So everybody's going to do this. So it says before your turn, collect 3 treasures from the top of the deck, then discard one of the treasures. So this card gets passed around. Well, actually, the tree star topper gets passed around, and then everybody does that before the very first game starts. So after everyone does that, then your first player continues and does the game. Then on to event 2. Event 2 is a single person card. No, not everybody does it. So it says flip all of the treasures in the tree face up, then flip them face down, shuffle them, and replace them in the tree. Because the game's a little bit of a memory game, because once you see where some of the cards are, if you start remembering that, you're going to kind of want to see where they are, because you could flip some of those cards over later, but that event makes you shuffle them, so you're not going to get to see. Then on to event 3, it's a star card again, so everybody's going to do this. It says before your turn, swap one of your treasures with a treasure in the tree. And on to event 4, this is a single event card, and it says discard all of the treasures in the tree, then refill the tree from the deck. So you're basically going to wipe out all of the cards that are on the table and just rebuild the tree again. On to event 5, this is a star card, and it says before your turn, peek at 2 treasures in the tree. So you get to take your turn walking or going around in the circle and just peeking at 2. If you're nice, maybe you'd let another person catch a glimpse of one of the cards, but it's better just to keep it to yourself and flip it over so only you could see it. And then the last event card is a single event card, and it says each player collects 2 treasures from the top of the deck. Then at the same time, all players pass one of their treasures to the player on their right. So there was one thing about this card that they're not too specific on. So this card at the top says each player collects 2 treasures from the top of the deck. Then at the same time, all players pass one of their treasures to the player on the right. At no point does it say you can't look at those 2 treasures you picked and give that player the one that you don't want. So that's how we played it. We both looked at the cards that we took, and then we decided to hand off the card that we didn't want. I think that's only fair. It doesn't specify it in the instructions, but that's how we played it. And the event cards are the one gripe that my wife had about the game. When you play the game, you lay out the events in numerical order. And that was one thing she didn't like, because once you learn the events, you're going to know what they all are. So she thought it would be a better idea to have these shuffled up as well, because you might get one where you get to shuffle the deck where you're knowing that the next one, all those cards are going to be mixed around. But if you were able to shuffle the events, that was one gripe that she had. It didn't really bother me too much, because if you're playing with less people, you're going to not do all of the events anyway. But that was the only gripe that she really had about the game. Now, as far as scoring goes and how you ultimately win the game, when you're flipping cards over and you're picking your cards, there's different pictures on the cards and different amounts. So, for example, if you flip over a card and there's an ornament in the top right corner, but it's also a picture of Chip on the card, you have to match it with the ornament card that has Dale on it, and then that's how you earn your 3 points. So, if you end a game and you only have one card with Chip and you don't have the Dale to match it, you get no points for that Chip card. And the same goes for the candy canes. There's a candy cane card with Chip, a candy cane card with Dale. You need both of them to get the points. But then there's also cards that are just that card gives you the point. So for example, there's an acorn card. It's just worth 1 point. And there's a bell card that's only worth 2 points. So you could have as many of them as you want, and you're going to add those up at the end. The big card is the popcorn card. You need 3 of them though, but they're worth 5 points. So basically, you can score multiple sets of the same type, but each treasure card can only be scored once. And then Pluto faces are ignored when you're scoring. You're only looking at the full sets and the total value on those. So an example for scoring would be if you had 3 popcorn cards or 4 cards, you would only count up 3 of them because you need 3 for the point set. So if you had 4 of those cards and the card says at the bottom 3 popcorns equals 5, you would only count the 3, and that's your 5 points. And then onto your Chip and Dale. If you have a Chip and Dale ornament, those are both worth 3 points just for the set of them. But if you had a third one that didn't have a match, you don't count that one. And then if you only have singles of another card, you don't count it. And then any of the single point cards you would count. Some of the scoring sounds a little bit hard to understand, but if you're playing the game, it's really not too hard. It is an easier type game, and you would get the hang of it playing through it only once, and then the second and third time, we had no issues with it. So the first time it was just everybody getting used to the game, but it is a fairly simple game. I don't see any problem with kids understanding it, and it is pretty fun. The first time I went around, I just played it by myself. I set it up as a 3-player game, and I ended up having the second imaginary player win, but it was pretty easy to understand. So then when I did play with the family, I just told them the rules. I didn't sit there and read through the rule book because I didn't want it to seem confusing. I basically just told them, how to play it, and it was simple enough that all the people understood it. So it was a fairly simple game. But I have to tell you this: there is one thing that is not in the rule book. And the first time I was playing it with my wife, I set everything up. She was sitting there. We went camping this weekend, so I had set it up outside at the table at the campsite we were staying at, and I laid everything out. We went through and played the whole game. When we were at the end and we totaled everything up, we both had the same amount of points. So we both ended up with, I believe it was 17. I don't know. I took a picture. I'm going to post that up on my Instagram, and I'll go over all that stuff later. But we both ended up with the same amount of points, and there is nothing in this rule book that tells you what to do if there's a tie. So that's one thing that I'm going to be forwarding over to Funko to find out what you're supposed to do in the event of a tie. But what we did was we ended up playing another round just to see who would win that one. That one was going to be crowning themselves the champion. But in the meantime, we just sat there, and I guess we both just decided we won the first time that we played together. But yeah, there's nothing in the rules about a tie, so I don't know what to do about that. So we just kind of both took the win, and then I got to admit, the second time we played, I won. But yeah, so that's the thing. No tie breaker rules. So I'm going to post a picture of that up, and I will go over all my contact information at the end of the show. But that is basic premise of the game. That's how you play it. It's fairly simple. It sounds a little complicated. I understand that's going to be one of the things about the podcast. It's a very audio type medium here, but this is a visual thing. It is easier to see it. I will post pictures up on everything on Instagram of what I'm looking at, exactly what I'm telling you. I do believe I posted a little video up of me opening the pack of cards. I don't know if you could tell when I opened it up how the feel of them is, but yeah, I'm going to put everything up over there. And as far as the game goes, I'm going to play it again. I'm glad I added it to the arsenal. And like I said, for under $5, you can't go wrong. The size of the box is really nice. And I did pick up a few other of the Funko card games. So hopefully they're as fun as this, and they have, a long-lasting gameplay. I did enjoy it. I will be playing it again. And like I said, if you want to check it out, I did post a lot of pictures of over on Instagram, and that is Closer to Xmas. Over on Instagram, it's just at Closer to Xmas. That's TOXMAS. Now, I know I also talked about how the cards felt when I opened them, but I want to talk a little bit about the artwork that's on the cards before I go. So the artwork on the cards is great. If you know that the Christmas special that this is from, it's the one where Mickey and Pluto bring in a Christmas tree from outside, and Pluto realizes that there's chipmunks living in it, and he spends the whole episode trying to get Mickey to realize that they're in there, and Chip and Dale are just torturing him. Growing up, we used to love when this would come on. My dad used to laugh. That was always the best part about it. The way my dad would laugh at it when we watched it. That also made it a lot more fun for us kids when the episode was on. But the art card on the back of the cards is just Christmas trees with garland. So every time I set it up, I was kind of going nuts a little bit. I had to make sure the garland was in the correct direction, because if it was flipped upside down, there's no way garland would hang off of a tree like that. So I kept rotating the cards. The artwork on the cards is great. Like I said, it looks like it's right out of the special. It has a little bit of that painted look to it, but they're great. I mean, if you grew up watching the special, if you love Disney, if you love Chip and Dale, you love Pluto, you love the whole Christmas vibe, the cards are beautiful. I love them. The artwork on the box is amazing. It really pops. It really looks nice. I like everything about the presentation of this board game. And like I said, if the interior of this box was a wrapping paper, I would definitely be buying that as well. So if you want to check any of the visuals that I talked about here on the show, you could go over to Instagram. Just look me up on Instagram. I'm at Closer to Xmas. That's CLOSERTOXMAS. Closer to Xmas over on Instagram. You could check any of the visuals out over there. I put a little video up of me opening the pack of cards. I don't know if you could really tell the thickness and the waxiness of them when I open them in that video, but that is on there as well. And make sure you follow me on there because I'll be posting future games that I'm going to be doing. And if anybody has any experience with any of the stuff that I have planned for an upcoming episode, you could definitely get in touch with me. You could DM me on Instagram. You could send me an email. My email address for the show is closertochristmaspod@gmail.com. So that's closertochristmaspod@gmail.com. So if you see any pictures I post up on Instagram for an upcoming game, if you've played that or have any experience with it, I'd love to hear from you. That way I could talk a little bit about your experience on the episode when I record it. So go ahead and send any of that stuff over to closertochristmaspod@gmail.com, and I'd love to hear from you about that. So with all that said, I don't know if I'm going to come up with a rating scale that I'd want to rate any of these games on. I'm just going to give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down. This game, I said I would definitely play again. I recommend it. I think it would be fun for a family and a group of friends if you're really into that Christmas spirit. And right now, Christmas in July, we were outside, like I said, over the weekend camping. It was hot out, and it just kind of give you that nice cool down, relax, get a little bit of Christmas in your day vibe. So I would recommend this game, and if you could find it, like I said, on Amazon, mine was under $5. It's well worth it. So if you see it on there and you want to pick it up, I give it a recommendation. I wouldn't pass this one up if I were you. But if you do end up picking this one up and you like it, or if you have any questions on it, you could definitely get in touch with me and I will help you out with that if I could. So if I do hear back from Funko on what you're supposed to do in the event of a tie, I will also update everybody on that. So in the meantime, that is my complete thoughts on the Chip 'n Dale Christmas Treasures card game. Definitely a big thumbs up for me. And since I did pick this card game up on Amazon, I'm going to give you a little bit of information that Amazon will provide me about this game. It does say on Amazon that it's ages 6 years and up, but on the box it says 5 and up. This does also say that it was released in December 1st, 2021. It's in the English language. Manufacturer is by Funko. And I don't know where they get all of these ratings or how they figure all this out, but it does say this is number 8,426 in toys and games in the bestsellers rank. It is ranked number 39 in collectible card game decks and sets, and it is ranked number 313 in board games, toys, and games. Then it has an average customer review of 4.7 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to read anybody's review on here just because it wouldn't be fair to read people's reviews on here that didn't give me permission to, but I'll just read some of the titles. Most of them are 5-star reviews. They'll say, Fun, Quick, and Simple Game is the title of one. Easy and Fun game, but no cookie scent. I don't know why someone would think that there would be a cookie scent. Let me read, you know what, I'm going to read their review and see why they think that. It says, this is a fun game to play. The package said cookie scented, but the only thing that this game smells like is cardboard and sadness. So that's pretty funny review. I do appreciate that, but mine never said anything on it about smelling like cookies. So I don't know. Maybe somebody just had a funny sticker and stuck it on the box at some point. I don't know. And another couple reviews. So cute and fun. Cute game. Cute. Fun for adults too. I would hope so because that's what I used it for. Very fun game for the entire family. Adorable Christmas game, but it is affordable too. Cute game for kids and super cute game. So like I said, a lot of the reviews on here are positive. I had fun with it. So if you would like to check it out on Amazon, you could go on there, and if you would like to read some of the reviews in depth, you could go ahead and do that. Again, not a sponsor or anything like that, just the game that I chose for this episode. And with that all said, I know I probably said that about 5 times in this episode, but with all that said, this episode is done. I want to thank everybody for listening. I had a great time here recording the very first episode of this podcast. I have plenty more scheduled. I did post a picture on my Instagram before of some of the games that I'm going to be talking about, physical and digital games, video games as well. So if you want to go check that out over on Instagram and see what I have for some upcoming episodes, I would appreciate it. And until next time, when you hear my voice in this podcast again, we're all going to be a little bit closer to Christmas. Thanks for listening. This episode of Closer to Christmas was recorded in 2022. I would like to thank Kevin Ague for giving me permission to use his music throughout this episode. Links to his music can be found on the description of this episode. And all the music was taken from the album A Solstice Night, which was recorded in 2012 and available on iTunes.